Lee, I don't have to let you in for this one. So
cool, yeah. So just to give a bit of context to this session, so this is an opportunity to chat about the policy lab projects and who's put themselves forward as a potential lead and who might potentially want to get involved in some of the work. So I'm going to hand straight over to Nicola, who's got a list of who has put themselves forward. So Nicola.
Okie doke. Okay, you should see my screen.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Oh, didn't mean to start from that slide. Be good if we could start from that slide. Okay. Right, so as of today, these are the bids that we've got on the template. Thanks very much for everybody who's put their names down. So I thought it would be useful if you could see in one place. We'll obviously have a look at the template in a moment, but these are all of the councils and affiliate members. I've got no associates on there that have put their names down so far to participate in one of the policy labs. I won't run through because you can all read. I'm not going to run through each of the names, but you can see that there's a few councils that have declared an interest in a number of them. There's been some really active emails going around on particularly around, I think it was the Arts and Culture for Social Cohesion email that was sent out by Ruben that has gained quite a bit of interest from, just from memory, Rochdale, Cheshire West and Chester. And I should just apologise, this is for internal consumption only. Don't want to offend anybody by the abbreviations that I've used for certain council names. That's my get out of jail free card. So what I wanted to do today was to just have a conversation around some of these. Obviously, some of them don't have many names attached to them. And if I just go to the next email, losing my voice a bit. Sorry, the next slide. We had the deadline for new project ideas on the 1st of April. And then basically you've got 2 months to pull your partners together for each of those. So it's a really nice lead-in time, basically because of the local elections. So there's no point trying to make a decision while the elections are happening. So we've got a good lead-in time. So we've really started this process early. We've got a number of projects that are out there. I thought I would be kind and generous. And although we said the submission of project ideas was the 1st of April, if we say until close of business tomorrow, just so that it's doesn't continue to be open, and then some of those conversations that we've had or that have been taking place over email. How do I go backwards on this? Oh, there you go. So some of those conversations that have been taking place on email can then be bottomed out. So particularly around that arts and culture for social cohesion one. The other one that was Anne Lithgow from GM that had also said that they'd be interested in that, but there's no other names on the spreadsheet. So these are the names on the spreadsheet. So if they're not on the spreadsheet, I don't assume that you're going to participate. There's 2 on there that have come from the CCIN. The first one is a study visit to Mondragon, which has come out of the cooperative leaders, the leaders cooperative leads meeting. So we've had I put Preston and Stevenage in there. So, if that one gets approval, then we'll be organising a study visit to Mondragon in the Basque Country. And I'm sure that now I've told you that one's there, you'll all want to put your council's name down along that on that column. And then the bottom one I actually added in this morning, and you might remember the October officer meeting last year. You actually threw out a call to Values and Principles Board when the statement of values and principles was all agreed and went through the governance. And that was about doing a piece of work about why the principles are important, what the principles look like in delivering services, and how the principles can be used to ensure that being a co-op council is everyone's business. So I didn't want to lose sight of that. What I've got on the VMP minutes and an action sheet is to work with VMP to put together that bid. So in my head, I can see that there'll be a request for a piece of work. I don't know how much will be associated with it, but I imagine that it will be a piece of work that we'd want to put out through the DPS to work with one of our partner organisations to put some meat on some of the bones there, which will, I hope, over time, help anybody who's doing a policy lab, where you come to that question of, well, how have you put those values and principles into practice? What are some of the things that we want to call out on that? Just checking the time, 20 to 12. At 12 o'clock, we've got Bonnie Hewson from Power to Change joining us. And it was Bonnie that came up with the idea of the building community power by opening up access to the co-op economy. It's great to see that we've got Sunderland, Telford, Co-op Futures and Power to Change already down for that. This is Bonnie will be able to tell you more, but it's actually the idea for a project which we do in partnership with Power to Change, where they've got some money to add to the pot here. So this would be effectively a really good partnership piece of work. They don't want to lead it. I'll say that from the start. So they're looking to find to provide the money, but not to actually lead on the project. But they would like to be part of the group. Has anybody got any questions about any of those before we go into some discussion about them in detail? And I'll probably take it off the screen when I do that, so we can all see each other. Has anybody got any questions? No. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to share is the actual spreadsheet, which you'll all be aware of. What I'll do first of all is I'll just put the link into the chat, so you've all got it for afterwards. Okay. Right, then once you should know this page because it was cited in the April newsletter, and I did a mailing specifically on this one as well. Just going to share my screen again. Okay, everybody see the spreadsheet? Yeah, good. Okay, so this is the stage the stage we're at the moment is for members to declare an interest in participating in the policy labs that we've got available now. So I'll change some of this so it goes from draft themes to agreed themes, and I'll take this black line out here. As I said earlier, if you've got any other projects that you want me to add onto here, if you can do that so that we give everybody a fair chance. We're not adding projects in right at the last minute and people don't get the opportunity to participate in them. That's the only reason that we put a deadline in, because we want to make it as fair as we possibly can so everybody can see everything that's available. And so the next stage is that we get somebody to put their hand up to agree to lead on some of these, and then over the next couple of months to pull together those groups to have that dialogue. Jonathan Nunn has now left, so both Jonathan Downs and Morgan Jones have led on policy labs in the past, so they'll tell you how easy this process is to get everybody together and to agree the format of what the bid might be. So it really is about co-production, cooperation, participation, cajoling, and just encouraging as many participants as possible. I can't remember, Morgan, how many was it 8 or something your bid had last year?
I think it started off with a few more than that, but ended up being kind of 8 who stayed the course.
Yeah, cool. And that was quite a good one, because it got approval at the beginning of the year and finished at the end of the year. So it was quite a tight time to deliver a really good project that we could then launch at the annual conference.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. A few people have written participate next to their names. I can see Morgan's put a couple of participates there. Helen's put from Sunderland's put participate. Can't see any specific leaders there, but that's where we are. So shall we open the floor in terms of conversations on some of those? I'm going to hand the chair back to Jonathan now.
Well, all I'll say is put us down for Mondragon. I can see Morgan wants to come in. Morgan.
So yeah, just to say that I kind of sent around a few examples. So we're interested in basically the inequality and the democracy things particularly. So I just had a few conversations internally and sent around an email to other people who put their name against those when I did it. So kind of the kind of things we're looking at, and this is our long list rather than kind of we want to do all of them, but basically we're quite interested in evaluating the household support fund. So think about how different councils have approached that, how they've used it, how they've disseminated the monies. So we can see like the scope of alternative ways people have done it, write that up, and then also evaluate the impact of that. So try and get some best practice, some kind of, if you don't know what might be the best way to do this as a cooperative council, and so we can learn and copy from what the best are doing basically. Second, something around supporting vulnerable people in rural settings, and this is where we're thinking particularly poverty is a big thing for Cheshire West at the moment, refugee asylum seekers as well. There's quite a lot of them in now small villages. It's a very different thing. A lot of the research that's out there, the learning that's out there is about urban environments. So there's something potentially interesting around there. But I know in the email we sent out, probably a lot of the other people be interested in the theme, don't have the rurality. So that's potentially interesting. I'm not sure how much comeback we got on that one. The one that I think most people seem interested in, and I think Nicola Hine was very keen on potentially leading something on, was around embedding lived experience in policy making. So this is something we've had a couple of Poverty Truth Commissions. We've got a Poverty Truth Advisory Board now, who we're trying to use to kind of challenge all of our planning, policy making about how we're considering poverty within that. We're currently doing a commission into future adult social care. Co-production is coming through that as a very big theme of conversation, as a very likely recommendation. And it's kind of how we balance these different groups co-producing different things against each other, and just again exploring that for ourselves with others, learning from others, and making our own mistakes, avoiding your mistakes, hopefully, that kind of thing. And then the final one, we were suggesting something around tackling stigma, again tying in with our poverty work, particularly. It's kind of how we can use all of our comms, our policy making, to kind of look at the stigma of poverty, and it not being like how you address that whole kind of societal image of it's somebody's fault, rather than this is where someone's ended up, which is possibly a bit too large for an authority to look at. It's more national, but we've got a tackling poverty strategy that is kind of pushing us in that direction. So it's something we're thinking about. But I kind of think from the conversation we've had so far, it's the embedding lived experience in policy making that seems to be the one that people are most excited by, and potentially evaluating the household support fund that sounds like the most deliverable. So that's just a kind of a quick throwing in my tuppence worth.
Thanks, Morgan. And I think from our Oldham's perspective, I think the lived experience in policy making is definitely one that we'd be keen to participate in too. I think it's also worth noting, if you remember, we had Joe and John from the Move project come and speak to us at the last Officer Network meeting, and they're also keen to potentially do some work with different CCIN members about embedding learning from the COVID-19 pandemic, so they could also be involved in the recovery from the COVID-19 one, Nicola.
Yeah, they've not sent their application in yet, so I've chased them this week.
Cool. Yeah, well, they emailed me to say that they're really keen to do something, so I think they're just a bit unsure of the process.
Yeah, they've got it.
Cool.
Ruben's got his hand up.
Just to throw my hat into the ring about, I put down the arts and culture one, and I'm happy to lead on it. And I think, and I've just picked up an email from Gareth. I haven't put, I think I submitted a proposal on the template, but I've not circulated to more widely. But it's more around, you know, arts and culture be a strong driver of development and social cohesion. And if you have resilient and social cohesive community, then they are better adapted to dealing with hardships than a community with a low social cohesion. So you kind of tap into that whole, how do communities develop in a pandemic or just generally, and it's just trying to explore what things that would look like, and it will be different for everybody. But I do want to know if Morgan, having led a lab, did have dark hair beforehand, and is grey because of it, because then I might be sitting my, no, I'm kidding, but yeah, happy to lead on that one.
This didn't happen in a year. Sorry, did you mention that someone from Cheshire West had been involved in conversations about that?
I hadn't seen those conversations, to be honest.
Nicola, did you mention that?
Yeah, I think I was probably mixing up your the two lots of emails that had lots of different people in each one. So yeah, ignore that. I'm going to have a look and see if I can, how we download the, it's only very loose information. If you didn't have to go into any detail just for the names. And I think that everything that was on the form, apart from the summary, so we'll add the summaries in for those new ones, because you had to come up with 150 words or something. So we'll transpose those into the spreadsheet so that the 150 words are in there, which would apply to number 8. Number 6 hasn't been. I've got some information from Bonnie, but haven't got anything in any great detail. We've been joined by Andy Gorn. Andy, could you just tell me where you're from, please?
Hi, Nicola. Yeah, I'm from Liverpool City Council.
Hello, welcome. Morgan's got his hand up.
I was just going to mention, as I say, so I sent an email round about the local democracy policy lab, and Nicola Hine, who couldn't be here today, did email. So what they're proposing is they've previously done a policy prototype and they developed the cooperative engagement toolkit, which obviously is available for everyone to look at. And now they've got that framework, what they're proposing to do is take this a step further and apply those principles to a service delivery model. So they're thinking the Changing Futures programme, which is for adults experiencing multiple disadvantage. So that's something that's the focus they're looking at for that kind of engaging groups in democracy. So I think that's going to have a meeting with Nicola and anyone else who's interested at some point about whether we can merge ideas, have different ideas, or how that might go ahead. But just to flag what Nicola's flagged as well.
And just one more point from an Oldham perspective, Nicola. I think there's quite a few that we'd be up for participating in. We're not proposing to lead anything this year, though we are doing some work at the moment around how we share data with third sector organisations. So one of the things we're looking at is creating almost a bit of an online insight hub. One thing that's come out post-pandemic is we think we're good at sharing data and information, and we're just really poor at it. So a lot of VCFSE organisations are using really out-of-date information, and it just makes us look really incoherent when we're operating at a Greater Manchester level. So we're just basically looking at how we can do something really simple, which is an online repository for almost like an Oldham profile, which anyone can access. So when people are at meetings and they're talking about Oldham, they're giving consistently the same information, or when people are writing funding bids, they're tapping into, again, the same information. So it was just something to throw out there that we're currently doing, and we'd be happy to participate and share any of that with anyone else who's interested. And I could see Gareth, I think you've got your hand up.
Yeah, when you start talking about data, I might have an interest. So I mean, I literally just flicked an email to Sally, who's on the call, and Ben on something similar about our data profiling. Obviously, with the census data coming out over the summer, it might be something as a group that's useful for us to share. I'll be very happy to be part of that.
Thanks, Gareth.
What do you want to do in terms of next steps? I was planning on doing another mailing that said these are all the projects that that people have declared an interest in. It doesn't mean that they'll all end up with an EOI by the 1st of June, but we need to, and there's quite a lot of duplication in some areas, and there's some maybe that we need to just really hone in and maybe make a bigger project, maybe join a couple of little smaller things together, because bids this year are up to £20,000. So I was thinking of maybe a short paragraph on each one, but then I didn't want to lose, somebody needs to put their hand up and say, yes, I'd be really interested in this. I could put the names of the people in the newsletter, so the contacts, so if people wanted to contact people directly, just in case they weren't actually on the officer group, that might be a way of doing it. It's up to you, really. I want, we obviously want the best bids that we possibly can have, but not everybody's on this call or an active participant in the WhatsApp group.
Last time, Nicola, it was quite, we had, if you remember, and I think it was quite informal, we had almost some sub meetings for people who were interested in specific bids, just to get together and have a chat about those. So Oldham, again, would obviously, from an officer perspective, be happy to facilitate putting some of those meetings in the diary, and people could just come in if they were interested, just have a brief 20-minute chat about some of those policy labs.
That's got a thumbs up from Morgan.
Cool. Right, we'll do that.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
if I mail out, I'll do a mailing, say to look out for an email from either yourself or Mahmouda that will go out to the officer network. So I'll last time I did the case studies pack, I actually named the members of the officer network, because some people don't necessarily know who their officer leads are in some councils, so it's nice to have a name as well, and just see if we can get encourage as many bids as possible. And don't forget the smaller projects as well. You can bid between £1,500 and £2,000 for a policy prototype. And that's a project that you don't have to work with anybody else on. It's to deal with something in a specific locality. So something to, a policy idea to overcome a local challenge. Steve's on the call from Burntwood. They've done the dementia-friendly Burntwood project, and that has really grown into something that the whole town's participated in, and they've the council have added another 8k into the money that they got, so it's really taken off. And it's having had a session at the annual conference on how to create a dementia friendly town. It might be something that some of the big councils, if you're looking at localities, that you're keen on finding out a bit more on. And then it's some of these projects start small, but the implications and the impact that they can have on people's lives can be quite life-changing, really. That's my plug for Burntwood. Let Sue know. Just while we're waiting for Bonnie to join the call, is there anything else on any of those projects that we've got? I thought I would expected to see a lot more participants in a post-COVID group. COVID-19 recovery.
We want to move on. We've been talking about it for too long, possibly.
Sorry to hear that, Michelle.
I was going to say, I was about to say it might be that people have actually got COVID. I think record numbers at the moment.
Yeah.
And certainly 4 out of 5 of my household just went down with it, literally one after the other. Not nice.
No. And there's so many more symptoms now.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was swallowing glass. My throat was so sore. And then it was the nose streaming was just and then the headaches and the neck ache and joint ache. And then after sort of 4 or 5 days of just getting it progressively worse, it kind of subsided, and then this sort of tiredness kicked in a bit. Yeah, not nice.
No, nice.
Along with the cough as well, yeah. But I could breathe, so I was thankful.
Well, I should touch every little bit of wood that I've got in here, but I've escaped so far. Famous last words.
Yeah, and I think there's also we've just done our staff survey, and people's mental health post-pandemic has been hit really hard. So I think a lot of officers have been really overworked during over the last 18 months. So sometimes the idea of putting your name forward and participating in what can be perceived as more work can be something that a lot of people probably aren't willing to do. But it's about showing that it's more than work. It's great networking, and it tends to be good fun being involved in the policy lab process. So I think it's just about making sure we make people aware of that.
And then you can always put it out to the DPS and work with one of the partners on there to do the actual writing for you. That's an opportunity that's been taken up by a few members in the past. I see Jonathan Nunn's returned from his childcare duties, and their reports that are launched at the annual conference, they work with Collaborate. So there's certainly lots of help out there. Could we now welcome Bonnie Hewson from Power to Change? Hi, Bonnie. Thank you very much for joining us today. We've just spent the first half hour looking at the projects that I know that you've had a look at the spreadsheet online and put Power to Change's name against a couple of them. I haven't said very much about the opportunity that we spoke about last week or the week before, but it's lovely to see you as an affiliate member and someone who's had an active interest in the work that we're doing. It's great to hear that you'd like to get involved in some of the project work. So shall we throw open the meeting to you?
Thanks for inviting me along. I feel quite privileged to be able to come and pitch an idea. So I'm new to the policy labs process. I haven't been involved in any before, but I am now managing a strand of work at Power to Change that's to do with alternative ownership. So we've taken on the Open Society Foundation grants in the UK, which are all to do with employee and worker and demonstrators and think tanks that are working on alternative ownership stuff. So that's really interesting, and it's a bit of a departure for Power to Change, where we can work in a broader context than just community business, because Power to Change is a foundation that's supporting the community business sector and has been very focused on building and growing that sector. And now we're able to, in this next phase, work more on trying to cohere all of the different things that make a local economy work and show that critical mass as an alternative to the current status quo. So it's great to be able to work in that collaborative way. I've got a little bit of budget in my 2 to 5 year budget going on that's about trying to, we're doing a lot of things. We're doing demonstrators, we're doing policy, we're doing like think tanks, we're doing everything with not very much money, but I've got a chunk that I've protected for seeing what we can do in places at a more local level that helps to try and unblock communities' own power to shift the economy. And this is kind of where Power to Change works a lot, but specifically I'm looking at, can we work with partners, either local authorities and places or national infrastructure, to find out what those shared things are that block communities or social enterprise advisors or anyone who's working to change stuff in their local area from adopting more shared ownership models. So community benefit societies or shared asset ownership, worker co-ops, employee ownership. And I know there's loads of different things going on around that. So ownership hubs in Sheffield and London, and there's different mechanisms. But I thought this would be a really good opportunity for us to take 10 grand of that budget and to put it towards working collaboratively with local authorities to research specific things in your places that are to do with this. So I've pitched a theme in, because I understand this is the moment at which we can kind of suggest other things. And I really liked all of the ones that were in there already. So I sort of looked at them and I thought, but there's a bit that kind of speaks to several of these that is the thing that I'd really love to work with some councils on. So I'll read it out. You can tell me if it's bull or if it's good or if we should change it. So I put in building community power by opening up access to the cooperative economy. Levelling up COVID recovery, building democracy and tackling inequality are all essential at this time. This theme is seeking to knit together these objectives and convene those members that would like to explore how to better support community practitioners. So that's community anchors, community organisers, local area network coordinators, as a way of tackling these issues. We need to find effective ways of reaching into communities, giving them access to the support and skills, build their confidence to lead on cooperative development. This might involve ensuring that the social enterprise coaches in your city are fully versed in cooperative governance, or offering appropriate training through local networks to reach those closely with working with communities so they understand the business models that could support cooperative and democratic business to emerge from local needs. Or it could be loads of other things, to be fair. Power to Change are interested in understanding the challenges and the blocks and the possible approaches and solutions that could help local authorities support increased grassroots development of cooperative community and all other alternative ownership models. So yeah, it's sort of broad but focused, broad and focused, is that thing? I don't know, tell me what you think.
Stunned silence, Bonnie.
Those are my words.
I'm used to it, man. Does it make sense? Is it totally not what this sort of policy lab stuff does? Can you imagine what it might look like in your places?
So, sorry, I'll come in. I'm kind of really new to this, so forgive me for my ignorance, but it struck a chord because we've got an organisation in the borough called Greenwich Development Cooperative Development Agency, GCDA. That's a really well-established organisation that does some of the things you've described. Now, what's interesting, I think, in Greenwich is that we've got a number of members, ward councillors that are also not only Labour members but Cooperative Party members. And recently in a meeting, in one of our scrutiny meetings, one of the quite active councillors was saying, well, how many cooperatives have been, developed over the last 4 years? Now, this seems to be all roads. I understand it's interesting you said about different models, because what GCDA would tell us is that, you know, to develop a cooperative, it can take a significant investment and also quite a long time. So the one that they did recently for a sort of community energy, Southeast Community Energy organisation, a conservative sort of figure was 70k over 7 years, just to get them to the point where they're a cooperative. So I think, I mean, I'm interested. I'd like to learn more and understand more and think about, well, what does it mean? You kind of managing expectations of members on the ground, but also putting forward other alternative models and then that whole sort of business support that kind of underpins that, so that they develop and grow. Separately, we're doing a community wealth building strategy, which we'll have our first draft at the end of next week. And so again, this is kind of a feature there. Yeah, so yeah, it was just to kind of fill in the silence a bit, but also to say it did struck a chord.
Thanks, Michelle. Morgan, did you want to come in?
Yeah, all I was to say, it definitely agree, strikes a chord. It's something we're looking at, but very early days. So we're looking at how we can better change our business support function to be better at kind of promoting different ownership models, social enterprise. So we've got a kind of workshops and conference coming up, which kind of being led by the local Voluntary Action CVS kind of umbrella organisation. And what we've done is like there's the online database for cooperatives, which we've kind of gone through and just with our address and gone, right, what cooperatives can we find as a kind of way of understanding what's going on, and trying to inviting people from that sector to these workshops as well, very much with it to understand what the barriers are locally, what has worked for them, what would have helped them at various points of their evolution, because we have a number of members who are very clear they want to promote more specifically worker-led co-ops. We've recently set up a council company to do waste recycling, which is run on cooperative principles, but doesn't fully get there. And so, yeah, we're looking to kind of almost scope our work in this area at the moment. So I'll flag what you're suggesting with a number of colleagues.
Sounds really interesting. Where are you based, Morgan?
Cheshire West and Chester. Quack.
And Bonnie, I've just put a note in the chat. I don't know if you've come across, but Greater Manchester's proposing to create a community wealth hub across GM, which is actually I think it came out one of the recommendations of the Greater Manchester Independent Inequalities Commission, to basically create a hub that's going to support and grow cooperatives, mutuals, and social enterprises. And the idea is that that's going to be actually staffed by people from the cooperative and community sector who really understand the market. So one of the challenges that we've found in GM is when it comes to business advice, a lot of that business advice is very specific to almost traditional businesses. A lot of the expertise to help cooperatives and social enterprises to grow just isn't there. So they're going to be providing real wraparound advice and support to almost social economy organisations, as well as exploring how we bring more funding in to actually support the development of social enterprises who perhaps aren't always profit driven, but have much more social aims, so don't always fall under that traditional funding type of stream. So there's lots of stuff there, and I think Anne Lithgow at Greater Manchester, from a GMCA perspective, is leading on that. So if you're not already in touch, it's definitely worth connecting in.
I feel like, and that's really useful link. I feel like there's quite a lot of like big interventions. So we're funding, these ownership hubs, which are like this big employee ownership and co-ops thing in Sheffield and hopefully West Midlands. And then there's the idea of community wealth building hubs. And again, that's like, it's quite a big like flagship sort of like, rah. And then we're also funding Preston, advancing a shared economy in Preston, which is obviously the ongoing kind of evolution of how you build a more cooperative wealth building economy. What happens if you're not like the go-to place with the big investment? What else can we do in our jobs in councils to build in the tools that are needed, like build off the resources that are already there around social enterprise and inclusive growth, and like make those mechanisms more available to the networks that exist, like community organisers or local area networks. Like, how do you link that stuff up better so that there's more chance for a democratic economy to emerge, even in places where there's not big investment? Because I don't have like big investment to put in a place, but I want to support it to emerge more from the grassroots, because I don't think the only place that democratic change comes from is the workplace and changing everything to employee ownership, and that it all comes from above. Like, I think there's a lot of appetite to change places from below, but perhaps less connection to the resources and tools. And the FSA website is just awful as well, so maybe we should change that too. But thank you, that's all really interesting. Sorry, Nicola.
And just one more to come back on that point, buddy, because I think that's a really valid point. We're doing some work in Oldham with Stir to Action, again one of our CCIN affiliate members, looking at the food economy. So we've been doing lots of work around food for a while now, but one of the things we absolutely wanted to do was look at more cooperative ways of building a food economy. So Stir to Action are basically coming in and doing a piece of work looking at how we build that from the grassroots up, and some of that is about connecting to existing organisations and pieces of work across Greater Manchester, or almost doing some peer mentoring type activity, because sometimes it's just awareness, isn't it? People aren't aware of some of those different options and models, and helping them understand that is a key step towards doing that. But also looking at the relationships that exist across Oldham too, and how people could better link and connect, because there's lots of pockets of really interesting work, but often those groups and people never have that space to come together and actually share and discuss what they're trying to deliver. So
are you
it
in
might.
Manchester, Jonathan?
Sorry?
Are you in Manchester?
Yes, Oldham.
Okay, yeah. There we are. Yeah, I'm talking to Anne Kelly Chase about their work in Manchester as well.
Brilliant.
All of that connection is really important, and actually they don't know some of the other stuff that's going on. There's a lot of stuff going on in Manchester, and so I think linking all of that up is...
Yeah, definitely. But I definitely think there's, as you say, there's a lot of work that can happen at a much more granular grassroots level when it comes to helping helping groups and communities really understand what the cooperative model is all about. Because I think one of the things that we found when we go out and actually discuss with communities about this stuff, often when you talk about cooperatives, people just think about the cooperative bank or the cooperative funeral care, or they think about cooperatives being that thing that was in Manchester in the 1850s and 60s, and people don't understand that it's about a lot more than that stuff.
Yeah, I've been doing a place-based program for 5 years now, and we still try not to talk about community business because if people don't get the words, they don't understand, they just switch off. And actually a lot of it is to do with finding out what a community needs. And then if something is a business intervention that they need, they want to create a service or a business that fulfills their need, then thinking how best to do that together so that the ownership and control and decisions and money is decided on by them. And you don't have to call it a co-op or a community business. It's just like, why are you doing it and how do you do it best? But getting that knowledge is really quite hard when you don't know what to call it and what to ask for. But yeah, it's like a chicken and egg thing, isn't it? Let me know if you've got the solution.
Nicola, are you hand up?
Yeah, I was just looking at Michelle's latest comment on the board. GCDA are an affiliate member. They've just joined, and while I was sitting here, they retweeted the tweets that we announced there that they joined last week. I just wanted to give a little update on the co-op leaders meeting that happened last week, because when we're talking, Bonnie just mentioned Preston, so the stuff that Matthew's doing, they've got they're building a new cinema in Preston that will be owned by the local authority. It's a £70 million investment there, but they've created a community benefit agreement with the construction company, who've agreed to use worker co-ops if there are worker co-ops in the area, and then that got Preston looking at, well, where are the worker co-ops? So I'd set up last week we had another call with the president of Cooperatives Europe, who's also the chief executive of the construction co-op organisation, Suzanne Westhausen in Copenhagen. And that's it's okay that Preston are looking at this, but they're also really keen on, well, how do they get other councils to participate, and are there other opportunities, like how can we get local authorities to all look at developing the co-op economy? And as Michelle mentioned, it can take it can take a lot of time to do it from the ground up, because you have to want to participate. It's a mindset to want to be part of the worker co-op movement. But there's also what happens when companies, and there's a lot in the construction area that are family owned, the families, next generations don't want to continue with them. So how do you get them owned by the workers that are there? And there's been quite a few examples across the UK of worker co-ops being set up in that way. Preston also talked, or Matthew also talked about a traveller site in Preston and developing housing co-ops there, which might be something that other members would be interested in, as well as reserve contracts and community land trusts. So the meeting last week, we had 3 of our affiliate members that were all legal professionals, all offering their insights into how do we tackle some of the challenges in the co-op economy through the legal what some of the legal challenges might be. So I just wanted to and just to pick up on some of the things that Bonnie said. We've been doing a piece of work. It's gone through the leaders group, and it should have gone to the exec oversight committee, but it was cancelled 2 weeks ago, where we've been talking about community wealth building and what can councils actually do in order to do community. What does it mean in a basic sort of sense, or whether that's supporting the creation of a regional bank and invested in that bank, working with local anchor institutions to buy and employ locally, work around the living wage. So there's been some ideas that group's put together around community wealth building, but also around cooperative placemaking. And we've got a really good programme on the website, the key themes for cooperative councils training programme, which is certified, so you can go through it and get a certificate at the end of it, which talks a lot about these 2 themes. I'll pop the link in the chat afterwards, but how many councils have developed a cooperative development network? How many, and Michelle just said that they've got a community wealth building strategy that you're doing. Preston's doing, they're just doing phase 2 of theirs. Matthew was saying that when they first looked at the Preston model, there was a lot of work from the universities that they saw it really as a research project, and now they've taken back control of that, and they're saying, well, how can we create co-ops locally? So it's a lot more action focused than maybe the Preston model was part 1. Supporting local enterprises to convert into co-ops and worker co-ops. So I'll and there's a lot of Michelle's mentioned Claire's there. There's a lot of mention of Claire's in that training programme. So if you've not had a look at it yet, please do. I'll put the link back in here and on the WhatsApp group, because there's so many bits of information I think that we've got available to us, that we want somehow to bring this together. And I'm sure that we can do something with the opportunity that Bonnie's brought to us.
I was thinking, in light of that, maybe I should add in a bit to the theme when I'm saying the things that it might involve, to also include, I don't want to make it too broad, but I understand that I'm new to this and I'm not sure the best way of doing it. But it could be working across councils to share models for building co-ops in certain sectors as part of inclusive growth or community wealth building agendas, because it could be that, obviously that's part of what this network does, is sharing learning across things. But for 10 grand, what are you going to be able to really do between a bunch of councils? It's really like some of you are pushing on one front, some on another, and maybe because you're all willing, sharing some more of that speeds up the process of how you engage the grassroots. And I know you're not going to suddenly like get an upsurge of demand if people don't know what it is, but if you focus on a particular sector, sometimes there's more opportunity in one place than another. So
when we spoke on it, I thought that the work that's been done in Sheffield particularly, it's having that investment to promote different offers of ownership. So what does it mean? Having somebody whose job it was to be able to talk to colleagues to say, this is what it actually means. I can't remember the person's name from Co-ops UK that leads on that area. Forbes, I want to say, but I can't.
Johnny, is it Johnny Forbes?
Forbes, yeah, it is Johnny, yeah. If you could replicate that role in every region, I know you can do it in every council, but it would make such a difference to this group. Like having that point of a resource. It's just such a shame that Sheffield's not in the network yet. But
well, at least they have an ownership hub to help with that. But
yeah.
We at Power to Change have funded co-op culture in the past to do their barefoot co-op training with, and what they do is peer-to-peer training. So they get people who work for co-ops and then they train them up so that they can train other people to run co-ops. But they have been thinking about how they expand that training so it's not just for people who are already in co-ops. And I wonder, like, that could be an amazing crash course to give a bunch of people whose job it is at the council to do stuff on co-ops, to kind of train them to train the trainer, because then you're embedding some of that knowledge and then they can train, because the last thing you want is to spend a bit of money and then the person leaves the council and it's gone. You kind of want to be able to replicate. And that is really good training as well about all aspects, not just the legal and governance, but some of the language and motivations as well.
Yeah, we need to know more about that. That would be good.
Do you know Mark Simmons?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he'll talk your ear off about it. So I only have 4 minutes before I've got another phone call. Man, oh man. I don't know if I need to do anything further, but I'm really happy to hear back from you, Nicola, about if you want to go with this theme, if I need to work up anything more about it.
Yeah. Do you want to send me that little 150 word summary? Yeah. And then I'm going to circulate all of the summaries.
Well, I think I've kind of shared it with you. I've just updated it a tiny bit.
Yeah. Just your latest version, and
I'm happy to adapt it if there's more comments back on it. But yeah, just also I don't really want to own, like, I do want to own it obviously because I want to work on it, but I only want to do it if there's people who want to do it, because obviously it's the council has to lead on it, and I'm really up for that being adapted and being as flexible as possible, but I can only put the money in if it's kind of to do with alternative ownership. So yeah, just leaving that out there. But yeah, looking forward to hearing back from you, and it's really lovely to see you and talk to some of you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Bye.
Okay, do we have anyone else want to raise anything on the policy labs or policy prototypes process? Gareth?
It's mainly because I'm really bad at reading all my emails and keeping on top of everything. So apologies to Nicola, who does a fantastic job of saying it all. But if anyone at Stevenage was to pick any of these things up, it's not me. It's people to just follow things. So from my side, if any of those fantastic ideas, all of which have gone, ooh, there's definitely someone at Stevenage who'd be interested in that, and it's really for them to say whether they want to commit to join the team or whatever. So if each of them could effectively have an email that I can flick on to a colleague, and then they can be in touch with if there's a nominal lead or whoever the group is or whatever, that'd be fantastic.
Thanks, Gareth. So actually, rather than us send, so if we're going to arrange those little mini, almost 20-minute discussion sessions, it might be, rather than sending out a big block email with it might be best sending them out individually. So you can flick the ones
that are relevant. Block, and then we just copy, the right bit to the right people.
Yeah, I just don't want to bombard with people with lots of time. We'll do it as a block, and we'll leave you to copy and paste.
As long as it's there, just so I can flick this on, and it's clear who the person to contact, whether that's Nicola or whether it's one of the council leads or whatever.
Cool.
For them to.
That sounds good, Gareth.
So I'll leave the form on the website. So the top link is the spreadsheet, so that's not going anywhere. The next one, which said additional themes, if I'll leave that on until Thursday. I'm planning on not going to be around much next week. I will be in on Monday because Sharon's organised a meeting on Monday. So I'll be around on Monday, but I will take that additional themes one off sometime by the end of the week, and then replace it with the new application form for the policy labs, so that it's really clear. So you've got your spreadsheet, your policy prototypes, and your policy labs, and then there's no confusion about adding new themes in. I think that's probably the fairest way to do it, so that everybody gets the opportunity. So if you could let me have, I can send it out on Monday, so I could do a mailing on Monday, let me have the 150 words, and then that gives Jonathan and Mahmouda the opportunity to organise some meetings. But I'm conscious it's Easter, so
I'm thinking, Nicola, we might use the next Officer Network session and extend it for those individual meetings, if that works. That gives people a little bit of time to have another think over Easter, and then it's sort of midway between the final application deadline.
Yeah. That'll be the 3rd of May. So the day after the bank holiday. Yay, we're coming into that time of year when we get bank holidays. Yeah, everybody happy with that? That's good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. So lastly, as always, does anyone have anything they wish to discuss or raise with the group? Sorry, Nicola, go on.
Right, first one, case studies. I need them by the 13th of May. I've sent out a mailing. There's a section, if you look at the website, there's a section that's called case studies, and it says submit a case study. I need them by the 13th of May because we've got 4 events in June, and if I don't have paper packs to take with me, I'll be shot. So I need your help to make sure that I've got an updated list of case studies so that I can get them printed and all published, ready to take for the 2020 pack. Please don't let me down. You can submit as many case studies as you like, but just tell me which one you would like in the printed pack. Councils get a double page, so you can either use that for 1 case study or for 2 single case studies, and associate and affiliate members get a single page for a case study. We've still got places available for the Stir to Action event in July. Come and have a fabulous few days, doing lots of work around the co-op economy. Just thinking Jonathan, I think, on the call are definitely going to be there, and myself. So if you expressed an interest and you are definitely not able to take up that place, please could you let me know, because we paid for 10 places, and I won't be looking for other councils to fill up those places if you're just waiting to send me your name. Jonathan says he's happy not to be camping this time. Interesting. He's probably in some very lovely Airbnb, not staying in a Russian tank like I did the first year. And finally, I put a note on the WhatsApp group to see if anybody needed any Ukrainian flags. I've had Burntwood, South Tyneside, Telford and Wrekin and Tor Bay all ask for Ukrainian flag. They're top quality flags, so they're not the sort of pound shop yellow and blue strips that are being mushed together. They're proper flags to put on proper flag poles or hang on the front of your house, which I'm planning on doing. Thank you very much. Oxford, I will add you to the list.
Lovely, thank you.
Go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry, just saying thank you, appreciate that.
That's okay. You will get an invoice, and so they're not for free, but the costs are in the WhatsApp group. I need to try and get it to 25. If I can't get it to 25, then I'm going to have to go back to the Liverpool company Wild Fang and ask them for a new price. So if you need to speak to somebody about it, I know that it was a request that originally came from Burntwood, because they had lots of community events, and their leader was trying to get a flag together for that, but this war's not going away soon, so if you want a flag, please let me know. Okay, that's it from me.
Thanks, Nicola. Any more for any more?
Sorry, I just asked about Cooperative Fortnight, so just wanted to know whether we coordinate anything through this group. I know it's a little way off, but is it June?
So we tend to, I'll share the toolkit from Co-ops UK.
Okay.
When that's shared, so we'll share whatever the tagline is that they do. Members do like Co-ops Fortnight because it's an opportunity for them to show their cooperative badge. It tends to be a lot of food stores around the country that will put on events and tastings and that sort of thing. So always happy to have any articles for the newsletter on Co-ops Fortnight, but we'll use the collateral that Co-ops UK create.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Well, if that's everything, folks, I will wrap up the meeting and I will get those emails out and see you all in May. Have a lovely Easter.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you, Andrew.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
So, see you, bye.